Good morning, Year 4. It's Mrs. Cafrello here with your first literacy lesson for this week. I want you to open your literacy books. I want to see all your work done in your literacy books this week. So open them up. I want you to write today's date. It is Monday, the 1st of February 2021. It's February now. Then I want you to miss a line and write today's learning objective to draft a supporting argument. Miss another line and do your subheading for your SPAG. So pause the video and do that now. In SPAG today, we're going to be looking at conjunctions. This is going to make our sentences in our campaign much more exciting. Okay, so conjunctions used to extend sentences. Have a think if you can think of any conjunctions. Okay, so a conjunction is a word that joins two clauses together. So it will be in the middle of a sentence, joining the two parts together. And if you have a look down at the bottom here, there's some examples of some conjunctions you might use. Okay, so let's look at an example. So instead of saying animals are better living in captivity, that sounds quite boring. It gives a fact, it gives an opinion, but it doesn't really expand. It needs to be expanded to give more information for your campaign. So we could add a conjunction and another clause. So we can say, animals are better living in captivity because there are specially trained zoologists there to care for them. And the conjunction that I've used is because, and then I've added some extra information. For your first task today, I want you to have a look at these sentence starters, and I want you to see if you can extend the sentence using the conjunction that I have given you. So for mild, it says, I want to visit the zoo because. So because is the conjunction. How could you finish that sentence? Spicy says that animals will not be okay unless. So unless is the conjunction in this sentence. How could you finish this sentence? What clause could you add to the end? Hot says that animals are well cared for despite. Okay, how do you think you could finish that sentence using the conjunction despite? So pause the video now and in your books have a go at finishing one of these sentences. Okay, let's have a look then. So for mild, we could say, I want to visit the zoo because I want to see how well the animals are looked after, full stop. Okay, so you could have ended your sentence with something like that. Spicy, the animals will not be okay unless they have specially trained vets to care for them. Okay, so you could have finished your sentence with something like that. Hot, the animals are well cared for despite. So despite means the opposite of something. So despite something means even though something else is happening. So even though the animals are not in their natural habitat, we could say the animals are well cared for despite them not living in their natural habitat. Okay, so well done if you've got something like that. I'm looking forward to seeing your sentences when you bring your books back on Friday. Okay, so your book should look like this now. You should have your first task written in. and mild, spicy or hot, depending which one you have done, and see if you can underline the conjunction in the sentence. Okay, so now it's your turn to pick a conjunction for task 2. So I want you to extend the sentence using one of the conjunctions down at the bottom here. So we've got unless, while, because, when, if, although, despite, since, whereas, provided that. Okay, so all those conjunctions will help you to extend this sentence. Animal rights activists believe that animals should remain in their natural habitat. How can you finish that sentence using one of these conjunctions? I want you to pause the video and in your book have a go at this task. Okay, so let's take a look what we've got. So animal rights activists believe that animals should remain in their natural habitat. I'm going to choose because. Okay. Because. So how can I finish this sentence? Animal rights activists believe that animals should remain in their natural habitat because there is much more space for them to roam. Okay, that means to explore and look around. Okay, now I'm going to use although. So see if I can finish this sentence using although. Animal rights activists believe that animals should remain in their natural habitats, although they can sometimes be better treated in captivity. So that's recognising the other point of the argument that we looked at last week. Okay, so your books should now look like this with your task 1 and your task 2. If you can see, I've underlined my conjunction again. So this is another example, despite this being dangerous for them. Okay, so give yourself a tick if you think you've got these spag starters right, and I will have a look at them when you bring your books back on Friday. So last week you started writing your campaign, so you should have decided by now if you think that animals are better off in captivity, living in a zoo or a safari park, or if you think that they would be better off left to live in the wild, in their natural habitat. Okay, so last week with Miss Atkin, you started writing your campaign, so you have already drafted your introduction. And this is Miss Atkin's introduction that she did with you last week. My name is Miss Atkin and I have been researching if animals should be kept in zoos or in the wild. I am campaigning to keep animals in captivity. I think that animals are happier here because they are looked after and protected by the zoologist. Animals in the zoo have enclosures that feel like their natural environment. Did you know that the wild is dangerous for some animals? Okay, so you should have all done your introduction last week. And today we are going to start thinking about the next paragraph in our campaign. This paragraph is going to support your argument, so it is going to give the reader all the facts that you know about why you think that your campaign is right. Okay, so think about what you've chosen and how you are going to persuade the reader to think the same way as you. So in your pack today, you've got mild, spicy and hot challenges like normal. You can use the sentence starters to help you, and I'm going to do an example now on the next page. Okay, so you're going to start up here on your next page in your literacy book. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look back at the first sentence starter for spicy. So, in my opinion, it's my sentence starter to start off. In my opinion. So that's telling the reader what your opinion is. So I'm going to say, in my opinion, animals are safer in captivity because, I'm going to get my conjunction in there, because they have people to care for them and protect them. Full stop. Okay, then I'm going to go back, have a look at my next sentence starter. I strongly believe that. I strongly believe that zoologists have the animals' best interests at the heart of everything they do. Okay, let's go back, look at the next sentence starter. Have you considered, so we can get a question in here. You should have done some of these on your plan last week. Have you considered that animals are given specially designed enclosures to mimic their natural habitat? And I'm going to need a question mark on the end of here because it's asking a question. Have you considered that animals are given specially designed enclosures to mimic their natural habitat? Okay, let's go back to look at the next sentence starter. I think that this is the best place for animals because. Okay. I think that this is the best place for animals because they have medical care available if they need it, because they've got the vets and the zookeepers in the zoos to look after them. Okay, so I'm going to go back and have a look at my next sentence starter. I understand there could be negatives to this, such as. So this is letting the reader know that we're acknowledging that it's not always the best place for them and we've done our research. Okay, so I understand there may be negatives to this, such as, what negatives are there about animals being kept in captivity? I understand there may be negatives to this, such as the animals missing their families. Okay, but then I'm going to say, however, this will help persuade my reader, the zookeepers become almost like family to the animals they look after. Okay, so that's going to help persuade my reader of my opinion. Okay, so here's my paragraph showing my opinions on why animals would be better off in captivity. Okay, so I've used the sentence starters to help me, and you can do the same. Okay, when you've finished that, there's a challenge. So if you can, include a quote in your paragraph. So you looked at some quotes with Miss Atkin last week when you wrote your plan for the campaign. So you can think about going back, fixing a quote somewhere in your paragraph. Think about what somebody might say to support your campaign. Okay? When you've finished, email your work to year4@hucklow.sheffield.sch.uk and don't forget to bring your books back for us to look at on Friday.